lads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today, we're talking about our own damn champions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't give her a title. I didn't think
Really?
of that. No, I didn't even think
I
about that.
agonized over my title, and I still don't like it.
No.
I didn't give my guy a name until just now. He only had a title.
Oh, really?
Oh my god, John, that's really... Is that
I
what you
agonized
meant?
over both of those things.
I did pick a name, obviously.
I guess we should talk about what we're doing.
Oh, yes. Each of us have picked a region that has some kind of plot hole, minor or major, perhaps, that is bothering us. And so we have designed a champion to kind of fill that hole, as John phrased it. He's going to go ahead and close Facebook for me because he keeps getting messages blaring in my ear. Thank you, honey. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Yeah.
I will say, I approached this not so strictly from like a plot hole perspective, but more broadly from like what's something I want to have happen, or something that I'd like to, like if you could affect the lore by creating, like, injecting a champion and some stories into it, what would you want to have happen? Kind of is kind of where I kind of went with it. But I feel like part of why we'll talk about it.
Sure.
I don't want no spoilers. We don't know. We haven't looked at what any of us have done. You know, I'm just now hearing that y'all are figuring out your titles and your names and things. So.
It's okay. I mean,
But I have champion quotes. So,
I think we all know the regions
That's true.
we did. I don't have champion quotes. I think I have the least amount of stuff, but...
We'll come up with some, though. So we will do impressions, because I know that was requested.
Oh, yes. Are we going to start with impressions?
I guess not if we're coming up with yours.
No. I thought of one.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. She's gonna yell it. So it's just gonna sound like me because I'm not good at like the visual design stuff and all of that. I can't create a person. I don't know how people do that shit.
You have literally created a person.
Okay. I can create a person. I write books. I get it, but I can't.
I was talking about Poppy.
Hey, but in my brain, I can't like make like a new face and stuff and new voices. I don't know how people do that shit. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Let me think about what the quote was. Back away from the orphans, and no one gets hurt.
Ooh, there's one of three regions this could be.
You guys know the region I did.
That's true.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
It's not Ionia, sadly. That would have been fun.
Well, what region did you do? Why don't you?
I did Bilgewater.
You want to fill the viewer in?
Yeah, I did Bilgewater. She's from Bilgewater.
Very good. Okay, it's very interesting.
Did you want me to go next since you didn't? Did you say you didn't have lines? You did have lines, but you hadn't thought about the voice.
I'll give it a crack.
Yeah,
sure.
Go for it.
I'll throw it across. I thought we would like do it so, like we'd get into Rebecca's and then we'd go to like the next person's and they would give the quote.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Do you want to do that?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So I picked Bilgewater, obviously, as I've said. There was, this is really funny. As I was doing it, I realized that my champion is tied to Viego and his shit, which is really funny because I hate that fucking crap. But one thing that's always bothered me in Bilgewater is that they have these harrowings there very frequently, and no one does anything about it. Like, no one goes like, hey, let's figure out what this is about. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like no one knows how to fight it. They all just hide. They don't go see what it is or where it's coming from. So I wanted someone who actually was like, maybe let's figure out what the fuck this is. But when I was doing it, I was thinking like, they're still happening. Like the mist still exists with Viego sleeping, right?
It does still exist. I think since that happened so recently, I don't know if we have had another harrowing since then, but at the very least, mist is still there. So
and still a threat to
I would
the
assume.
islands around it, including Bilgewater. Okay, well, let's get into Birdie. Her name's Birdie.
Okay.
I went to Pirate Name Generator and was flipping around, and Birdie popped up like first, and I was like, well, that's adorable. Obviously, like, it was Birdie the whatever, and then a last name, but I didn't care about any of that. She doesn't even have a last name. Another thing I wanted to do was I wanted someone from Bilgewater who's not like a complete fucking tool, because I feel like everyone at Bilgewater is just like an asshole. Alawi, not so much, but yeah. Anyway, Birdie, she was a normal girl in Bilgewater. I don't have a full bio, but she was born to a couple of scoundrels. Not great people. I imagine they kind of started off as thieves, and then they worked for someone higher up, and they kind of like would beat people up or kill them for money. And they were kind of teaching her to do this as well, but it's not something that she was interested in. But she was like 8 or so. Her parents were sent to kill a family. They had a daughter, Petra, who was Birdie's age, but Birdie was able to stop her parents from killing Petra. I didn't really work out how all this worked, but I know that her parents killed these other parents, but she was able to save this other little girl who ran off. Years went by, and she kept like attempting to sabotage her parents' plan. She was like, oh, okay, I can actually like affect what they're doing here. And instead of running away, which she had thought about, she thought she'd be more effective like trying to save people that her parents were hurting, and they never really noticed. But one day, little Petra was old enough to get revenge, so she came to kill Birdie's parents. And another plan I didn't really think out, but I imagined it was some kind of bomb or something that didn't go well, and then Birdie fixed it, so it did go well. The plan was going to fail, and Birdie was like, I got you, girl. We'll do this together. So Petra brought Birdie to like this safe house she was living in, kind of like an orphanage, basically. And the two of them kind of finished growing up there together. And when they were older, the old woman who took care of the children died. So they kind of took over this orphanage. And then like the harrowings were really starting to ramp up. And I was thinking maybe the orphanage was like kind of close and like was getting hit by this a lot. And they didn't really have great ways to protect the kids. So Birdie's like, I'm going to try to figure out what the mist is. She knows how to sail, and she can fight, and she's kind of big. I imagined her as being like a big bad bitch. Yeah. So Petra like kind of stays back to take care of the children, and Birdie will occasionally go out to try to figure out where this mist is coming from, but also knows she can't just go to the Shadow Isles. I sort
All the cool
of
kids are doing it.
I imagine that they hate the Sentinels because they like sealed up Viego, but have never like. Sorry, our cat just had a fit. Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
But like never gave them anything to fight the mist, or told them how to do it, or protected themselves, or tried to protect them. I kind of figured she maybe found like a broken or a piece of a Sentinel weapon, and she wove pieces of it into like a whip, and that's what she uses to kind of try to hold back the mist when it comes around. She can't really like kill things, but it can hurt them and like still kind of push them back. And her goal is to prevent the mist from coming to Bilgewater at all. That's her goal. And that's my champion. This is the most nervous I've ever been doing this podcast.
I love it.
Putting
Really?
out creative shit like that is so hard.
No, I think it's great. I agree with like having something that's more not a dick in Bilgewater. Is like, yeah, when you said it's like breath of fresh air. Even just the name, right, immediately kind of tells you
It's
that
a
this
little
is
more
not.
lighthearted.
Yeah, some grumpy pirate.
And
Right?
it's probably going to be especially important in Bilgewater because last we know of in Bilgewater, fucking that's where our boy Thresh is, just tooling around, sucking up souls.
Sure. I mean, I guess I will say, didn't he also kind of pop over to Noxus potentially?
Oh, was
Or
that?
in that-
Oh, actually,
in
yeah.
that
I think that's where
cinematic?
that tavern was.
But you know,
I'm
when
thinking-
he's
He had
could be
a
anywhere.
crab claw, so I was thinking Bilgewater.
Oh,
but
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah.
he was in
you know,
Sorcels.
plug me. Even still, though, right? I really like picking up after the ruination or the rise of the Sentinels, and I like it as sort of a blind spot of because they're just a bunch of people. They're not professionals, right? One of them's graves. They're not like they don't pay attention to they're not detail oriented. They all just kind of scattered to the wind. So the fact that like, hey, we still have this big problem and no one actually kind of solved it is I don't know. I like it.
Yeah,
right?
especially because like we saw from I think it was Shadow and Fortune. I think that was the one where the people who are trying to fight against the mist, like they're all just fucking guessing. Like they've got her first mate who's just like, yeah, this one's gonna work for sure. I dipped my gun in rum this time. Like,
Yeah.
That's really what I was thinking about. Is like I think that was the one story we had where like we saw a harrowing, and I was like, they're really just they don't know. How do they still not know what to do? This has been happening for so long. Or they never have a plan. They don't even have a siren. So that I forgot to write that down. Like she has some kind of warning system. Like
alarm system.
Yeah. I do also imagine that she had like other people who had maybe grown up in the orphanage have kind of like tagged along to help. And yeah, I was thinking maybe like there are people posted out there now because of her where they like fire off. They have like a warning that the harrowing is going to happen, you know, before it happens.
You know what I'm just thinking of is like one of the wildest things about Bilgewater? As far as we know, the only way I think we've seen so far, other than potentially shooty shoot grappling hook man. Action. Maybe the only thing other than Action's weapon that can free someone is Nagakaboros. Like, she's the only one I think we've seen who actually can remove people from the mist and let their souls move on.
What the fuck is she doing during harrowings?
And, like, I mean, in that story, they go to the temple and, like, Alawi prays and they do free a bunch of souls. They almost fucking free Hecarim's soul in that story. And he's like, oh, fuck, no, I don't want it. But, like...
He took the snowball and it's like, oh, fuck.
I hate it here.
We've all been there, bud.
But, yeah, like... And I mean, it's not like Alawi is the only... She's like the head priestess of this religious sect, but she's not the only one. Like, they have a whole religious sect on this island that worship the one thing we know of that can free someone from the... Like, the fuck are they all doing?
Sure. I mean, I think if you... I really like the element of the kind of partial sentinel weapon that's been sort of... you know, she's made something of these sort of broken pieces. It runs nicely thematic with the background, right? And I think if you had that kind of incorporating like some Buru elements, because that's something we see a lot in like the Ruin King game, for example, is like when things were at their best, it was all these different cultures kind of contributing to each other to create these things that had not been built before. So that's been almost sort of like in a weird way replicated, like just incidentally through this one, like in this way, like of necessity. I think would be great, and it'd be neat to see what the different things she kind of pulls into it to make it be what it is, right? That weapon.
Yeah, I definitely should have looked more into Alawi's religion and whatnot, because I definitely think that's an area I'm not super familiar with. I guess, I mean, no, I didn't play The Ruin King. I feel like that's really where you get a lot of information about.
There's a lot of Buru shit in that, for sure.
A lot of Buru stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see her utilizing that. Probably not liking Alawi very much for not doing more against the Mist, but I don't know. And probably like teaming up with Gangplank. I don't think Birdie would like the majority of the people who run Bilgewater.
I'm curious now. So do you kind of picture her as like a little like resentful then, or is it more just sort of like a I don't know, I'm kind of curious like how you kind of envisioned like her like personality, like what's the, like if you're hanging out with her, right?
Oh god, yeah, that's a tough one.
No,
I was just thinking about too how she would feel about, I mean specifically talking about the Ruined King, how would she feel about the head priestess and also all the strongest warriors that Bilgewater have ever seen just fucking off and leaving Bilgewater, going to the Shadow Isles, and also not stopping the heroine.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like almost well, maybe they didn't start it, but like, you know, they were gone when Gangplank awakened Viego too. They almost didn't even make it back in time for the harrowing. Literally, everyone who had any strength to do anything about it was just out. They weren't working that day.
Now I feel like, I mean, you can tell me it's your character, so you always.
We're still building it. That's what I've got.
That's true. I feel like. I do want to pull back a little bit from that, because I think with that, to me, it feels like we're entering into... Remember Hope from like Final Fantasy 13 or whatever?
Mm-mm.
Right? Do you remember that? Okay, don't worry about it. That's probably for the best. But like we have a character who's kind of... like, I would say in their defense, they were actively working, doing their damnedest to stop Viego, right? They weren't fucking around. They were really trying hard and putting themselves at great risk. So it's like having a character who's like got so much misunderstanding around like what's actually happened, and them having a lot of resentment around that. I don't know, it can be like, to me, feels a little frustrating almost. I kind of like, and also she seems like a much more like positive and fun character, that she wouldn't be like so bitter about it so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I like that better too, for sure.
But
Yeah.
Also,
go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say something else that it's another thing in relation to, I guess, stemming the tide of the Black Mist that I don't feel like is explored a lot. Maybe you can tell me if it is in Legends of Runeterra, because this tidbit comes from Legends of Runeterra cinematic. But do you remember the one where they go to the Shadow Isles and they have like what seem like to be like lantern lighters that are keeping lanterns lit with like this magic goo stuff?
The Buru pretty funny, as we're talking about it, right?
Yeah. I would assume so, right? Like they looked. I know they had like the tattoos and shit, but
they seem like that.
Yeah, but they just have like this liquid that they put into lanterns, which looks like it sets up some sort of like just wall that the spirits can't penetrate. But it needs to be like re-upped every now and then. Like she's got the bucket of it in her boat, and nothing can get into her boat. And then her son's there so that he can relight a lantern that had gone out by putting more goo in it. Like, what is that? What's that actually doing? If not,
It's for breeze.
how often do they have
It's
to
like,
re-up
this
those
is like-
lanterns? Like,
Sure. I mean, I really like that as like something that would kind of help make sure that the orphanage, for example, is like practically defended, right? It's very safe. And I guess that was something I was curious about. Was like, did you have any idea for like stories that you would want to like did you have anything in mind for like how the character would be, like the character would star in, or like did you see any sort of like significant like arcs or like stories that would kind of like plots, I guess I would say, that would kind of go on with them? I'm kind of curious.
Well, now that we're talking about Alawi, I think it would be tied to that, because I imagine her doing a lot of this kind of after Viego's been sealed up, and the fact that the mist is still around is what is like drives her forward to maybe try to do something about it. So maybe she would go to Alawi for like help, and trying maybe getting the story about Viego. I think she still would not like the Sentinels very much for kind of abandoning everything. But Alawi, I think. And I prefer a personal story, usually, more than an action piece. Although an action piece, I'm sure, would be fun. Anything with a whip, right? That's got to be kind of a fun.
Right?
And, like, fighting, like, a big mist, right?
So I will say real quick, I was putting together my D&D character, and I realized I could dual wield whips, which it seems
whips?
terribly... 2 whips!
No, you got to do that.
I don't even need 1 whip.
That's so freaking funny. The idea you have like 2
They do
whips
shit
just
damage. They do
flying
1d4.
around. Oh, 1d4? I feel like a
They
whip
have
would
reach,
hurt a
but
lot.
it ain't worth it. It's not worth it.
But you have 2
Anyway,
whips, so it'd be
continue.
2d4.
Since we're talking... Yeah, right? Anyway, sorry, but we're talking about all this whip talk. Got me excited.
you heard it here, folks. All this whip talk got Mark excited.
Yeah, I wish I'd spend more time on a personality-wise, because you do have to think this is someone who grew up with, like, murderers and who were trying to raise her to be that way as well. And what is it that, like, stopped her from being that way, too, I think Petra would have been a big part of it, even just being that young and seeing that her parents were going to kill someone who looked like her and was her age, I think would have been a big turn. But she is still, all her life, was just surrounded by these awful people. But I don't know, maybe was able to stay positive through it. She's not Lux, though. It's not Lux positive. That's too positive.
Or Matilda positive.
Oh, I love that. She's
Sure.
Matilda.
Yeah.
But like a big, beefy Matilda.
Meet Tilda.
Meet Tilda. Oh my God. Mind linked over here, I swear to God.
Meet Tilda.
I was running through all sorts of variations. What is it here? Swell Tilda? No.
Tall Tilda.
Matilda.
I like that.
Tall Tilda.
Okay, that's So that's the thing is that your well runs deep. Mine does not. I got the one.
Oh man.
Yeah, I like her and Alawi a lot. I like two big
bitches.
chicks.
Yeah. I don't think she's as big as Alawi. Maybe that would make her feel bad a little bit. She's used to being the biggest bitch around, and she's like, God damn, it's like. This woman's like, what's your routine?
Right? Like a Captain America situation where she tries to like hold up her
Although she does fight with a whip, so like she's got to be a little not too large, right? It seems like a more agile weapon.
I suppose.
I was trying
It
to
is a finesse weapon.
I know. Especially when you have two. One of each hand. I was trying to think gameplay wise, how would it differentiate from Neela? Because Neela also kind of has a whip, even though it's a water whip. That did almost make me change the weapon, but I was like, there's multiple guns, you know?
Right. That's a good question. I don't know. There's a lot you can do with a whip.
I couldn't do gameplay decisions, so you guys have to help me build this part.
Oh boy.
I didn't really either, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought about it.
I know John
but
did.
I did.
He's got like their
Really?
abilities and everything. Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe if I was feeling really aspirational.
To be fair, I
guess
think
what I
of
will
the
say-
three of us, I'm also just the worst writer. So like my
Absolutely not.
Oh,
100%. So I'm sure my
didn't
character's
write
not going to be
something.
fleshed out nearly as well as everyone
Maybe I'll
else's,
write the
so.
story though one day. We'll see. Let me
I
write the
mean, I
novel
thought
first.
at some point we should play these fucking characters in some sort of
in D&D.
league one shot or something. I don't know.
That would be really fun. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just desperate for it.
That
though.
would be some good Patreon content.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say that like from this one, it was solely lore perspective, and what I would want from gameplay wise would probably be very different, and it would kind of necessitate like an entirely different perspective or way of thinking. Almost, I felt like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how to build gameplay. I would say if I'm trying to build it around myself, I like to play support. So another weapon using support would be fine. I mean, all the weapons have some kind of support, I guess, or weapon.
You know what I'm thinking of? Like, to your point of differentiating her between Neela, too, is like, I feel like Neela is an extra graceful whip person.
Yeah, I don't think Birdie would be.
And I feel like Birdie, I mean, her whip is made of rocks. I feel like
Well, she put
really,
rocks in it, you know. But yeah, that's fair. She wove rocks in the whip. It's got to be some muscle behind it. It'd be more like...
just like, you know, when you like hits the ground and it's like, boom.
Yeah, it's more like that
Yeah.
outside.
Silas chain.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking
yeah.
Silas Chain. You know what's kind of nice about that too is it kind of echoes almost like the Alawi tentacle imagery, right?
Oh,
Like maybe they would
Yes,
like,
yeah, they'd be similar in that way. That's fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can feel the chunkiness of like whatever her Q is, just some sort of like
Maybe it
flat
slows
damage
them
ability.
or something like that. Like
Yeah,
it,
with a little
it like
slow or
makes the
something.
terrain. It makes rough terrain, and then they're slow on it. You know.
I like her having an ability where she just like pulls someone to her with her whip and then decks them when they get close to her.
Ooh, a little clothesline. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another hook. You gotta have them.
I'm like,
The
well, yeah,
Build-A-Water
so
loves
you
their
get into
hooks.
support, so more of a plate, a little more of a. I like the idea of having a Bilgewater's like support. If you wanted to try and pull her down into that, I kind of like.
Well, I
that.
guess we already
You could
have
like,
Pike
a
and
shield.
Nautilus.
I was going to say another Bilgewater support with
With
a
a
hook.
hook. We already have two. We have a whole team of them.
Yeah, we're doing the whole hat. Yeah, the hat trick, right?
We need two more, Riot.
You could play with like the shield that we were talking about as like something. I don't know. You could do a lot
Oh,
with it.
yeah.
A
If
little
you get
light
some of that
shield
goo.
thing.
Oh yeah, the goo.
Maybe that's like the ultimate. Is it like push it? It's like think of it like an Aurora ult, but instead of like keeping them in, it pushes them out, right? And creates like it's like a Jaina ult, I guess, sort of. I don't know. I need to. We did. That's the thing is, I started saying like, what if it's like this? It's like, oh wait, that just exists. That's just a
Yeah.
fucking
But
champion
that's how
ability.
it starts, I imagine, when they're designing champions, as they
Sure.
work around that. But it also takes them a very long time. So us sitting here and trying to do it in like 5 minutes is probably.
I think
not
we
it.
can bang it out.
Yeah. Dunzo.
Well, I feel like I did my champion.
You did
Thank you
great.
for helping me.
You did great.
Both of you. Thank you. Who wants
is
to go
fun.
next? This is fun.
I don't know. Do you want to flip a coin, or we
Sure,
can go in the
let's
way we
flip a
normally do
coin.
impressions? Yeah, we do flip the old coin.
Do you
I
have a
suppose.
coin?
Who's got a?
Or are you going to do
Who's
it
got a
digital?
fucking coin, dude?
Actually,
Pull up the old
2024.
D2 here.
no, I don't.
Let's see.
Oh, you're
Okay,
right. We
want heads or
probably have
tails?
dice around
true, we have
some
dice
more than
everywhere.
coins.
No, we gave her dice, and she's been rolling so many D20s and D8s and shit lately.
damn.
It's the whole thing we do. All right.
Yes,
All right. You want heads or tails?
Give me heads.
All right. So you got. All right. We go. Survey says heads. There it is.
All right,
I guess
honey.
you have to pick. We'll say. All right.
I'll
you
just
can go.
go.
We'll say that to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So.
You gotta do impression first.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this impression. I only know the region John did.
Could I interest you in a book?
An old man.
I like it.
An old man champion who likes books, honey. You already got me.
Let's see. So, my guy's from Targon. Why? What's one thing we're missing in Targon, guys?
Oh, I don't know. It's such a complete and like cohesively written and like really detailed. They really get into the fineries in Targon.
Exactly. Answers.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
So, we got a lot of holes here up in Targon.
Holes to fill.
Holes to fill. I've got a short list here. There's many more. What's Targon Prime? What exactly is an aspect versus an ascended versus celestial? Why do certain aspects take full control of their avatars and others give them so much freedom? What does it mean to kill an aspect? Even Pantheon, who was killed so hard his constellation disappeared, still just fucking came back. How's that different than how the ideal Aatrox embodied disappeared forever when he was imprisoned in his sword? Was there an actual aspect of that ideal as well, now that's gone? I was curious, was there an actual aspect of the ideal that Aatrox
Yes.
became? Were all ascended drawing upon the celestial magic of an ideal specifically? And if so, did all those ideas also disappear when the Darken were sealed? Or was the ideal disappearing just part of the botched magic, with Aatrox being the first? If Kael and Morgana both share the power of the aspect of justice after receiving her swords, but the aspect of justice is still just fucking around and kicking enough to fight with Kael against Zolani, are there other aspects who have multiple avatars? And if so, do they have a portion of the full power, or do they all just have full power?
Like Voldemort with his soul pieces.
What are the cosmic entities that Targon forced Aurelian Soul to fight that he had apparently known since the dawn of time? If Aurelian Soul helped Targon form a star-spanning empire, as he put it, what does that entail? How many other aspects exist that aren't just on Runeterra? And
this
others.
is giving me anxiety. I feel like I'm having one of those stress dreams where I'm at school and it's the final exam.
You're like, oh my God, I don't know
I don't
the
know.
answers to any of these.
I thought I studied League lore, but I haven't been to a single episode all year.
Where are my pants?
Introducing Thaddeus,
Which he just came up
the
with
archivist.
about 30 minutes ago.
Ooh,
Thaddeus, I
like
love
the
it.
name.
The archivist.
Oh, we never came up with a title for
a
Rebecca. So
title
we'll do that at the end.
for Birdie.
I don't want to pull too much momentum. We can come back to it if y'all want to. Because we just got introduced to Thad.
The Mist Hunter. The Mist
Hunter, that's cool.
Fighter. The Mist Whipper.
Urchin Defender.
Okay, well there it is. I like Mist Whipper. I think that's kind of where it's at.
Sounds hot. All right.
Love it. So we've got Thaddeus the Archivist.
Mm-hmm.
Now think of the Watchers from Marvel.
I don't know that.
So they kind of are like this they're a hyper technologically advanced society that just fucking watches. They tried to help intervene once, it didn't go great, so now they just watch everything across the universe.
Bunch of perverts.
Okay, they prime directive everything.
Yeah. So except instead of an advanced technological race, he's a celestial.
Oh,
In
so
fact,
Thaddeus is a celestial?
Thaddeus is the first celestial.
So he was born at the first breath of creation?
Before the first breath of creation.
Oh, John.
Though he didn't actually technically have anything to do with the creation of the others. He's not like, you know how Aurelian Soul's super old and actually created a bunch of stars and shit? Like, Thaddeus has just been watching.
He's not a maker, he's a watcher.
He's a watcher.
pervert.
He's just been watching this whole time. kind of like Zillion, though in a much more real sense, he exists in all times and universes simultaneously.
Okay.
So he has witnessed every possible iteration of events from the beginning of time all the way to the end. And he has a mental library where he has every possible outcome of everything written down.
Okay.
Now, this mental library is also like, it's a physical area that people can visit.
Ooh.
And he loves the company.
He loves when people are in his brain
He
library.
loves when people are in his brain. He's spent all of eternity, basically, with a strict non-interference policy, just like, my job's to write things down as they happen. I'm not getting in the middle of this. But he's like a bit of a goss.
Oh, hell yeah.
So like if someone visits and like asks questions, like he loves to answer questions.
He's giving them tea.
But he's not gonna, he won't intervene. Mm-hmm. He's just answering questions. It's no big deal. The problem often is that his concept of time and space is so warped from having seen everything already that like, if someone is asking about something that has happened to them in the past, like he can clearly see like, oh, this is the timeline you're talking about. Like, yeah, I know what happened here. But if you ask him about something that happens in the future,
it could be one of a million things, right?
Yeah, he's going to answer it in a way that's going to make no fucking sense to you.
Interesting. I like it.
So, yeah, and kind of one of the frustrations is that at the point where the advice would be helpful, or slightly past, like a few seconds after the point where the advice would be helpful, it will make complete sense to you what he meant.
So it's like Captain Hindsight, right?
Yeah,
like
basically, if you're interacting.
I
with him.
love that. Oh shit!
I like the idea that people still constantly are trying to seek him out, though. Like, it's a big thing in Runeterra, this big myth that you could try to find him, and they're still going to try to find some answers to something.
Yes. Which kind of leads to some of his associations. Soraka, real good friend and companion.
Sure.
Soraka frequently visits the archivist's library.
She also makes no fucking sense.
So that's the problem. She has way more interest in the future. So she asks him a lot of questions about that. And then a lot of the information she tries to pass on to mortals doesn't make any fucking sense to them. It's coming straight from the big guy.
Sure. So this is not Soraka's fault that Viego happened.
Yeah, it was
Thaddeus.
Yeah, it was Thaddeus doing his best. Mm-hmm. And
Bard. Did she call him Thaddy, you think?
Thaddy
like
Daddy,
Big
I think. Is...
Thaddy Daddy? Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Thank you.
Now, I have, so before I get into this next association Bard, I thought it was important. The reason I thought that he would be great for this region is because if you have a question about how things work, like, he knows the answer. He knows fucking everything. So just as an example here, Targon Prime. I'm going to answer that for you right now.
Oh, what is Targon Prime, honey?
What's Targon Prime?
Thaddeus knows.
It doesn't exist anymore, but it used to under a different name, the Celestial Hub. This was basically a pocket dimension where Targonians and aspects could directly access the Celestial Realm, and they would have direct access to powerful magic found here and to the countless other realms and realities, all navigable through a series of portals that Bard had created.
I like this.
Kind of Bandle City portal network style. Now, this includes a gateway to the archivist's mental library when he chooses it to. But here's the problem.
Okay.
Actions on Runeterra kind of rippled in an unpredictable way for some of the Celestials. The Void gaining sentience here meant that their eyes expanded. So they're not just sentient here on Runeterra, like they can see shit all over now. And while the Ascended were able to stem their flow a bit on Runeterra, not everyone was that lucky. And using what they learned in Runeterra, the Void was able to snuff out countless realities.
Oh, no.
And
Interesting.
in many cases, the aspects, the reasons why we hear tell of them being so strong, there being so many of them, and we still only know about like fucking 5 of them or whatever, and they don't seem that great. The aspects were pulled kind of a million directions, trying to protect all the various realities. But in many cases, they were consumed, and the stars were snuffed out entirely, which is one of the reasons that the magic on Aurelian's soul crown is weakening. Because there just are literally less aspects than there were before, because they keep getting snuffed out trying to fight the void in various realities. Now, Bard kind of found out that the void was also using some of his portals for easier access to other dimensions, so he's just fucking shut that shit down. He's like, not on my watch. Yeah. No more Targon Prime, which for the record was a very Targonian thing to name it. They're like, oh yeah, this is ours. Fucking assholes. So they shut that down. Unfortunately, that also shut down the portal to the Archivist Library. He's been getting so lonely.
Oh no.
Man, I'm loving these tangibles. Oh my god, I love this.
He really put a lot more effort into this than I did.
No. Also, another reason Targonian aspects in general seem kind of weaker now than we've heard is because Bard shut down Targon Prime, or the Celestial Hub. They also don't have that direct well to pull from like they used to. So now even the magic that they're getting is more diluted than it used to be. And yeah, now since less people are visiting the Archivist, he's getting real bummed. He's starting to second guess his non-interference policy. Now he's thinking like, maybe Soraka, maybe that's the idea, right? Like, go down there a little bit. Just like, I won't get in the middle of anything, but like, make myself more accessible. But yeah, so Bard, that relationship, he's not super thrilled with Bard right now.
That's funny. I want to see him like yell at Bard.
Yeah, he knows he had to do it because he's seen all the possibilities, but he's still not happy. Aurelian Soul, they're work acquaintances. Aurelian Soul gives him a lot of shit for just watching and recording, because he doesn't create anything, and Aurelian Soul's all about creation.
Yeah.
He also harbors resentment towards him and the other Celestials for not stepping in when the Targonians enchanted him in the first place, which annoys the Archivist in particular, because if Aurelian Soul had just asked, he would have told him it was going to happen, but he never asked.
It's on him.
And finally, I just have another random Targonian association here. The Infinite Mind Splitter, which was the Legends of Runeterra dragon. It's basically a big celestial dragon that if you look it in the eyes, it's said that there's so much knowledge there that it will just, you'll go insane from the mass amount of knowledge gained. And I have it in my canon that all of this knowledge came from reading a single book in the Archivist's library.
Oh, shit.
Ooh, I like it. Man, I like this guy a lot. Like, when you're talking about him, I get such a sense of like his personality, and like I can see these stories, and they're all very, like, the ones that come to my mind are very funny, right? Like him sneaking into a little town down in Targon, and like, that personality interacting with those people, or like I said, him like yelling at Bard, and Bard's like his just mask just kind of spinning around, beeping at him. Right? It's like he's yelling at his fucking oboe, or this like shopping cart that got turned into a dude.
And in front of other people, he's yelling at a cart he thinks is Bard. But he forgot his glasses or something.
One of these barns.
I know, sure. One of you. I like the idea of him setting up like a fortune-telling booth or something like that. Like, that's how he's trying to get people to interact with him at like
ask him questions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then people start to realize he knows. Maybe knows some stuff.
Or the opposite. He's giving them real predictions, but none of them
gets run out of town.
This guy's a hack.
like, but you could pull that into the gameplay too, because like, God, it'd be so great if he's like a support. I just want him to be around other champions, and like when they miss their skill shots, he's like, "You're gonna miss that Q."
Oh,
shoot.
he is a support, FYI.
Oh, nice. I like
I
how we
love
try to
it.
think of 2 supports. All right, tell me
like,
about
their
his
Ignite was up.
gameplay.
Yeah. Sure.
Ignite was up.
Now, it's funny you mentioned that, Mark.
Oh, no.
His passive, you choose one enemy at the start of the match. You can view their cooldowns at all times on a little toolbar above their head. You cannot change this enemy after choosing them at the start of the match.
Oh man,
That seems busted, dude.
I like.
But good. Different.
Yeah, very different.
It's like,
I really like
it's
it.
one of those things that...
You know what? In a year, Riot's going to come out with a champion that fucking does that, John. I swear to God.
It seemed like, so it's kind of the same as like jungle timers, right? Like it's something that high level players already kind of know. So
That's
it's
true.
like it's a
Yeah.
benefit to lower level players more than anything, while not being too busted for high level players, right?
Yeah, it's like you have to use the information, right?
Yeah.
Knowing
Yeah.
that the Q's on. Yeah.
Now, Q. Question. You provide an ally with an answer to a burning question, giving them profound knowledge to use in the fight ahead, which functionally provides an ally with temporary boost of adaptive force.
What's adaptive
Okay.
force?
That's something you
bad
only
at
get
It's
from
like AP and
masteries right now, or runes rather, that it will give you either AP or AD based on...
Right.
which stat
Okay.
thing.
Now I know. Yep. Neat.
And then we've got the W. Where? You use your infinite wisdom to locate one enemy for an ally. Provide vision of them for 10 seconds, no matter where they are on the map.
Ooh, I like that.
So like describe this to me. Like, how would you use this in game, or like what's it look like when you use this in game? It
You're
says
actually
vision
just
of the-
you're choosing the out. You're choosing the enemy. Basically, like
Okay.
So you pick an enemy to have vision of for 10 seconds?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have to see them in the first place, or like how do you?
Oh
pick,
no, you
like-
can cast it. It kind of would work like almost like the GUI would be kind of like the kindred bark. You would like cast the
You'll have to-
ability and then, you know, the little
Oh right. Yes, the mark. Oh, mark. I thought you said bark, like
I
the
thought
wolf,
you said
and
bark
I got really
too.
confused.
Oh my god! I was like, man, I know I play Kindred.
No.
But that doesn't sound.
Yeah, okay,
familiar.
I'm open to that. Sure. I'm liking all this sort of information-based gameplay.
Yeah.
Man, that would. I feel like, damn. Could you imagine just like knowing exactly where the jungler is at level 2?
And like it's not something that is too far away from like what a hawk shot could do. If you're curious where a jungler is right
Sure,
now, you
yeah.
could hawk shot where you think they are, and it still gives you the information. They're not there. That means they're probably somewhere else. This is kind of a different iteration of like, I'm not going to get vision of everything, but this one ass person, I'm going to see them the whole fucking time.
Sure.
Next up, we have Explain.
Explain begins with it. Oh, it does. Oh my god. I thought it was like an X, and you emphasize the X so
You
much.
do, yeah.
Explain. Please explain.
All right, let me explain.
Letters to me.
Sure.
You trap one enemy in a long-winded explanation of the multiverse, stunning them and temporarily lowering their adaptive force.
Is this targeted or is it skill shot?
This is targeted.
Oh damn!
Yeah, it
point.
feels targeted.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard.
right.
Yeah, hard target. But it's kind of like I envision it a bit like a Malzahar type thing too, where
Yeah.
like you're like rooting yourself to stun them.
Yeah.
As you pull up your like whiteboard presentation. And then finally, we've got R, research. You research all of an ally's multiversal deaths, narrowing down what will cause their next one and helping them avoid it. And in practicality, you set a waypoint. This can be updated every 5 minutes. When a specific ally would die, they're instead teleported back to the waypoint, avoiding just the last strike that would have killed them.
Oh, interesting.
I imagine it working kind of like the Valorant dude.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. I think I played that dude.
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Like, so is it sort of like so when you cast it, is it like a Zillion ult where it will time out if they don't die within a set time frame, or is it just like no matter what they have like one sort of revive, quote unquote?
See, I was debating on that. I'm like, I was a little torn on whether I wanted, because either way, it would have a significantly longer timer than I think the Zillion ult. Because they're not reviving with like extra health like they would with a Zillion ult. I know Zillion ult can kind of be like maybe a blessing or a curse, where like if you're really losing that team fight and you revive right in the middle of the enemy team again, it didn't really do a lot. But it can also be like, you know, if it's an even fight and you revive in the middle of the fight, like you can come back and turn the tide. This is like much less functional like that, where like you're getting out of the fight, you're out of danger, but you're also, depending on where the waypoint is, unless it was put in a very good spot, like you're potentially not going to be able to make it back to that fight in time to, and you're also like you're by definition one hit away from death.
But that might make it too easy for people to troll others. They could put the waypoint in like the enemy's fountain or something, yeah, or they're like,
well, I guess if they were going to die
limits.
anyway.
That's
but
true, I guess.
still,
Because it won't trigger unless they were going to
And
die.
then they would take lethal damage.
Yeah.
I assume, right?
So, I mean, all it would really do is troll yourself by wasting your ult.
well, some people
We
are
can all
willing
do that.
to do that for pissing
I
off
think
their
you could-
teammates.
I really would be excited to see that with things like objective fights, where like if you had the jungler like pop out behind the Baron pit, so if they die, they still have a chance
They
to
can
steal.
still try to smite it real quick, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
or like back doors where you throw it in the enemy base, and like maybe your top lane, if you got like a Yorick or some like a Jax or something who can kind of like tear through a minion wave if they can kind of get out during a big fight, right?
Yeah,
like
like-
make
You know,
the enemy commit
John,
to a big
could be
5v5.
You say you're one hit away from death, but I've been one shot by a set Q before at 100% health, so you might still come
That's
back
fair.
with 100%
That's
health.
what I was gonna say too. Is like it would really affect like
If you died
big
to a
bursty
Caitlyn ult,
assassins,
then,
right?
you know, you're going to come
Yeah.
back with a lot of health.
Yeah, compared to getting burned down
An
through like
auto
more
attack
DPS.
or, yeah, ignite, something like that.
It's very interesting. I'm liking these. I think I really like a lot of what you put up in terms of like breaking some of the conventions a little bit, or just sort of like it's not just like, okay, it does a bunch of damage in an area or whatever, right? You know what I mean?
Now,
Man.
quick bonus here.
Ooh.
You may have noticed that his QWER abilities all were also named. You know,
Oh,
their
really?
names started
Oh,
with QWER, question, where, explain, and research.
Yes, but
That's because
passive.
he was the first champion, and the only reason we use QWER nowadays is because those abilities were named that.
I like this. That should be like, if he's got a skin, he should be like arcade or something like that, and that would be kind of where you pull in.
Oh, I didn't think about I did actually write down what the first skin would be. Maybe we'll do
yeah.
that.
Oh, really?
Last, yeah. I didn't have much of a story for it, or anything. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, you reminded me a little bit of like when you're DMing for like a new player and you give them a backstory of the world and they create a character that's like tied to everything in the world. Like somehow their character is responsible, tied to every single thing that you have.
What's the passive called? Did you say it? Maybe I missed it.
No, you didn't name it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't name this. I'm going to call it passive.
And it's called
That's
passive because that's what he called it.
That's fair, I suppose. So I'm not really doing anything actively with this. It's sort of passive in its effect, if you think about it.
I have a few other quotes here. They're just like little things. There's just two of them.
Sure,
so it's
yeah.
no big. Of all the yous in all the potential timelines, it is truly a pity that this version of you persists.
Oh, damn. You really looked at me when you finished that one too, and it felt kind of personal. Anyway.
You're the best.
Thank you.
And then the last one I have is, what I would give for just one surprise.
Ooh, I like that. Very humanizing. I like it.
Oh, good job,
Man,
honey.
ship this
killed it.
fucking guy. Yeah.
I don't have a lot of thoughts
Okay.
about his stories or anything like that. But
Well, I think
you
Mark
could,
and I,
yeah, you guys
pitched
came
a
up with some
couple.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So I do imagine he's not big on action pieces.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Or if
think
he
so.
did, it would be very similar to like. I'm thinking of that scene from. I honestly can't remember if it was the first or the second Aladdin at this point, just because I watched the second one so much because I had it on VHS. I feel like it's probably the first one though, where he's drowning.
Oh,
Aladdin's drowning.
Okay. And the genie saves him.
And the genie's like, I can't save
Yes.
you unless
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make
yeah,
a
yeah.
wish. I need
That's
you
the
to make
first
a
one.
wish. He kind of seemed like if there were an action scene, I imagine he would be like hiding nearby, like, anyone have any questions about what I can only answer questions. Does anyone have any?
God, that would be great. He goes down into town, and the town gets attacked by bandits, right? Like, and oh my God, that's great. I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of fun you could really have with him in the written space.
Lovely job.
The end.
Good job, man. I like it. I like him a lot. Thaddeus. Okay. All right. Yeah, I did come up with a quote or an impression, but I kind of banged one out when we were setting up. All right.
Nice.
And okay. I have seen them beneath the ice, so I will see this done.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay. Looks like we
Okay.
both
So
have
as-
Watcher.
So you got a
champion.
Shuriman.
I know it kind of shifted there, right? I was trying to get into more of like a.
Oh no, I was just
North-
joking because you said something about ice, and I was like, it's in the depth, you know. It was a bad joke. Move on.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no worries. So I picked the Freljord, and I wrote okay, so the character's name is Rona, Herald of the Witch, right? And I wrote like a blurb, like how they write for champions on like here's the thing. Okay, so this is like the summary, I suppose. Born and raised in the Frostguard faith, Rona searches for Anivia's Aerie, racing against the great Cryophoenix's rebirth. Tasked by Lysandra, she and her fellow Draklorn priests carry shards of dark ice within themselves. These shards, pulsing with the Ice Witch's power, are to be used to bring the demigod under Lysandra's control. Having seen firsthand the doom trapped in the Freljord's depths, Rona is resigned to a world lost, the searing cold in her flesh, her one source of hope.
Nice.
So that is the shtick, is that, yeah, she is a really high up Draklorn, one of those Frostguard, and she has been gathered up with many others who have kind of proven themselves and have had big chunks of dark ice embedded. Like, I imagined her as having these like shards just kind of erupting from the face down to like the chest and the back and then the shoulder, and they're all questing individually, but like to find where Anivia is going to be reborn, and when they get there, they're going to embed dark ice in it and corrupt Anivia. And I want it to happen. I want her to be successful, and I want to canonize Black Frost Anivia as that is what is going to happen going forward. Yeah, I did this because like I really sometimes like I really like playing Anivia, and like I forgot how old her lore is, and when we look at like Ornn and Volibear, it's just so much more developed, and I want to reintroduce her into the lore. I wanted to create a more looming threat and kind of push Freljord a little more into like action, especially with relation to Lysandra. I know she was just in Song of Nunu, but a lot of what she's doing is very like she's just kind of scheming in the background, and she's just kind of like watching a lot, and I kind of wanted something that was a little more like, let's create a more immediate problem. I wanted more from Lysandra and the Frostguard, because she's the only one really from that whole space, even though there's such a big factor in the whole area. So I thought the idea of like Lysandra all of a sudden has corrupted this demigod, and that's kind of something that she is like a plan B to Nunu being like the Luke Skywalker of Freljord.
I like that idea.
And I thought also like that could create a really like she at the end of Song of Nunu, she's all about like, okay, well, I guess he's where we got to put all our faith, but we got to test him. And I was like, well, what a better test than him having to kind of defeat this thing that was the object of kind of almost worship for his entire tribe, right? that's now been just turned into something that he has to stop in some way. And I thought the idea of like, reintroducing Anivia, and she's like terrorized, like she's just flying over these villages and just coating them in ice and just terrorizing in the far north. I don't know. I was like,
yeah, I do really like that a lot, and that would really throw Ash off, who I think is maybe reliant on the idea of Anivia coming back to aid her in some way, and then I think that would make Ornn have to do something as well, like give him some momentum. And Volibear, who I imagine
I thought it would push those two together.
Yes, because
they would kind of feel it.
Want to stop her, for one, and also I think there'd be maybe some concern there. We don't really know how they feel about Anivia, but I don't know. She's like their cool sis,
Right. Like, I imagine there being like such
corrupted.
a mix of pride and concern in Volibear. Like, oh, she's doing such good war,
she's really
but
fucking
also,
him up.
like, that's not your thing, sis.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Talk to me.
Yeah, I liked some weird scene of them two having to sit down and talk with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Because some bigger problem is happening, right?
All three of them like huddled
honestly,
around a volcano like it's a campfire. Just like
I imagine you already came up with your idea for a short story, but I think that would be a really great one, is Ornn and Volibear. It kind of starts with them, and then Anivia busts it up or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I did think a short story. Like, short story, I wanted to just be like, for the character herself. Like, what I had in mind with her is that like she's like very much a true believer in Lysandra's worldview. Like, maybe not the whole like religion aspect of it, but just that what she understands that what she is doing is very morally wrong. I think if you could draw a strong comparison to I don't know what his actual character name is, like the agent in Serenity. Yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Where he's like, what I'm doing is horribly wrong, and I've firsthand gone down into the Howling Abyss and seen those things beneath the ice. So what I'm doing is the only way that this will work. Like, that's the only thing we can do to try and stop like what I've seen here. I know the world's fucked.
Creating this great future that I have no place in.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense for a Frost Guard as well, who would have, like, because Lysandra has that belief too, right? So if you're following Lysandra in some way and have earned her respect, I imagine you kind of have the same beliefs as her.
Yeah. So I kind of imagine her as someone who's very almost like mournful a little. Like you kind of feel like you're kind of walking through a living graveyard a little bit, and like there's just this sort of single strand of hope that is, maybe we can find this and do this and succeed. Me or the fellow ones, and I'd imagine this short story of her having, like, in the aftermath of being like attacked by some Avarosans or something, and she's got one of them captive, and it's just them talking over the campfire and kind of exploring what she's doing and the morality of it with someone who vehemently disagrees with her, and then she doesn't kill him. She just kind of lets him go, right? I guess I didn't want her to be like terribly cruel or terribly close-minded, just sort of like just wants to do what seems to be the best thing to do, even though it's rough shit.
That'd be a really good story.
Didn't want to give her that Silas short story. Should we let them go?
I did like the idea that like she kind of expected that Lysandra would dream walk this guy to the Frost Guard, and instead Lysandra sleepwalks him off a cliff, because it's just the best way to make sure that no one knows what they're up to. I don't know. Anyway.
So do you think she did that climb down to the Watchers?
Yes, yeah. I absolutely. I think that's like, that was the image in my mind, was her talking to this guy and talking about how she's felt the cracks in the ice with her own hands, right? It's not permanent, and Lysandra, stuff like that, where she really truly believes what she's peddling, I suppose.
I imagine the void has to be really hard to picture unless you have seen it. So Avarosans, I don't think any of them have seen any of the void at all, like even the smallest void creatures, let alone the Watchers, which are like the most terrifying of the void creatures. Maybe Velveth is scarier now because she's very intelligent and free, but yeah, so I could see them like not ever understanding what she's doing, because they cannot comprehend whatsoever what she's trying to prevent. You just can't wrap your head around that kind of evil.
Right. And I think like...
And I imagine also that... What's her name again? I'm so sorry.
Rona. Sorry, there was like
Rona.
it was this or Mila were the two that I was bouncing
Mila
between.
is good. But Rona probably would feel a lot less evil knowing that the Watchers exist. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I know what I'm doing is not great, but like, look at those things.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of. I kind of like the idea of like someone who's like not like anti-hero, more like anti-villain. I guess is kind of the thought.
I like that. Yeah.
Right? And yeah, but yeah, I wanted to do some more of the Frost Guard. I thought like I don't know, digging into a little bit of like what
crappy in Song of Nunu. I feel like.
Yeah,
like
really
really
don't
not
really get
great.
a lot of them in Song of Nunu. Like a lot
They're
of
just very dumb in Song of
characterization.
Nunu. Yeah.
And like even in
And weak. Like Braum just kills all of them by himself.
so easily.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem much stronger in the Ash short story, but still, we don't get like a ton of positive characterization.
Yeah.
Like all the positive things that the Frost Guard did in that one were like when they were in disguise as non-Frost Guard to blend in. So like,
sure. Yeah, it makes me think also of like that. I had in mind a lot that story of them going down into the abyss, whereas like
Yeah.
they are people,
Yeah.
and right, they feel things.
They're not
They feel
mustache twirly
scared and
villains
shit,
here.
right?
You know?
Yeah,
I feel like the Frost
that's like
Guard.
Lysandra's whole shtick.
Yeah, I definitely thought the Frost Guard were like the bad ones, but even in playing Song of Nunu, you start to see as like goofy evil as she looks and sounds, like as the Ice Witch, like she does kind of have like the world's interests at heart. You know what I mean? And not like she thinks has the world's interest at heart. She really is trying to stop like an unexplainable evil from destroying the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and something that I know has come up before about the Freljord is that like God's power wanes and waxes based on belief, and a big thing Lysandra is trying to smush out all of the belief and those old religions, right? So I thought it'd be a really neat turn, maybe like you would do a Nunu piece where after this has sort of happened, or when they are kind of getting ready to sort of reintroduce Anivia into the world, as it were, all of a sudden all these new Notai start sort of showing up and spreading these tales of Anivia and really trying to spread the word. And when Nunu's kind of listening to them, he realizes that what they're saying is sort of these weird, warped, they're wrong what they're saying, and the idea that it's actually Frostguard who have kind of gone in and pretended to be Notai to start reinvigorating Anivia like worship and belief.
That's great. Do you think
But
that's
they're
what
Anivia.
you think that's what Rona would do after she's successful? Because I was going
I
to
don't
ask
know what
you.
this was the big thing I had trouble figuring out with her though, is like, because I do want her to be successful. I want them to do this like to be like the big looming problem in the Freljord immediately. But I didn't know what I'd do with her afterwards. If she would just be like affirmed and empowered and sort of like Lysandra's right-hand woman, or if there would be some sort of like feeling of like loss of purpose almost. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what I was
the more
thinking.
I don't know.
I'd also imagine because she had all this black ice on her and she used it. Does she still have that black ice on her, or
That's
is
the
she
thing, is I
now
kind
kind
of-
of like burned and scarred from it?
That's the thing, is I the way I pictured the champion, like as they're in game, definitely still black ice. I really like
Yeah.
just a little bit
The
of sort
visual.
of body growth, like
Heart, yeah.
some of that going on. So maybe it's like you just use a little bit, you just need to make it like it has to fester, or maybe it like manifests, like it excretes some like super duper dark eyes. I don't know, man. Or maybe maybe she helps some other like Draklorn to do it, and they're consumed in the process. Something, I don't know. You could kind of play around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like.
that.
I also will. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just saying I dig it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking too about the logical or the logistics of like, well, you got all this dark ice. Like you have to have different clothes. You can't wear the exact same clothes all day. How does that work? And sort of like the grueling process of her having to like remove clothing and put it back on, and like how she had to cut out these pieces to allow it to sort of, not just mess up whatever armor she's trying to wear. I don't know, like really getting into like how literal a burden it is that she is kind of taking on.
I like
but then
that.
at the end of the day, she's fine with it. I don't know.
Kind of like the Vi short,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
like ice in your hands
absolutely.
at the end of
Something
the
like
day.
that.
Maybe afterwards, I feel like she'd still have this black ice on her, and it's like, well, now what? She's gonna have this burden forever, and there's no use for it anymore.
It doesn't bring me the same comfort it used to.
Yeah, maybe. Right.
Well, it'd just be like, I don't know. She might not have known it would always be on her or anything like that, but I don't know. Or did you think of it logistically about what it would be like to live with this black ice on you forever?
Seemed like such a good idea at the time.
Right.
But now I can't give huggies
I was young.
anymore.
I can't give huggies. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that was the big question. Like, that's why I kind of wanted to workshop with y'all. I was like, okay, if you did this, what happens with it? Because, like, that's a big thing that happened to a character. How do they change as a result of it? And I just can't decide which I like more. Because some of me kind of likes, like, her through and through being content with what she believes and done, and still, like, is completely convinced of the fact that she's made the right decision, no matter the hardships it incurs.
I could kind of see an entire story arc after she has succeeded in that, going through, like, after the initial excitement of the job well done, just like chapters, each of which are her going through one of the stages of grief, following it, and how she's kind of dealing with all that. Because I imagine it would be, I don't know, I'm imagining it being pretty cool.
Yeah, and I imagine seeing the reality of what she's done would still hit hard, even if she's convinced that it's the right thing. Like, seeing a god corrupted is probably very scary. And then seeing the corrupted god potentially, like, wipe out a village or something. She could still have that idea of, like, I know I did the right thing. This is what I had to do. I'm very convinced by this. But it would still be heartbreaking to see the result, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I do like the idea of her going back to Lysandra, and she's just, like, a bad bitch with Lysandra. But
that's the thing.
I feel like I find it more interesting for her to kind of go off on her own and at least to have a journey where she accepts this decision and is comfortable with it, you know. But I don't know.
For sure.
That's tough. It is really tough to think, like, what do they do after this thing?
Yeah. That was the other thing, too, is broadly, I wanted something that would progress things a bit more rather than sort of like just setting up something and then leaving more and more hanging in the air. Like, I want things to kind of change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she still has access to black ice, and that seems like kind of a big deal in the Freljord. So she could be trying to think of new ways to utilize the black ice that she has, you know.
She could also be potentially, you know, I guess from her side, kind of mission accomplished once you corrupt Anivia, but now, like, maybe she follows Anivia trying to help the people that were, I guess, hurt by all the kind of carnage, you know.
Anivia from killing, like, innocent people, or at least help the innocent people that have been hurt.
Like, I can't stop her from doing what she's gonna do because I assume it's tied to the prophecy, but, like, I can sweep up afterwards and clean up the mess, I guess. Help people.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, that's the
nice.
There it is.
What was your skin concept for her? What's her skin launch?
Oh, I didn't come up with one, to be honest with you. I should have.
I know you had pitched that idea, so I thought.
I forgot. I got caught up in, like, trying to figure out a title and stuff.
Now, I'll be honest, I don't have a skin line. My idea is that, and this is a ton of work, but you have to do it right. You have to.
Sure.
Edit every single splash from every AU and put Thaddeus in it, just like a little bit. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo, where he'll be in the same outfit in every single splash, single. And, like, you know, if you want to, obviously, you got to sell your skins. I get it. Like, you can give him splash art for all the AUs, whatever AUs you want if you want, as long as it's acknowledged that like he's not a different character in any of those AUs. It's the same Thaddeus. He's just peering in on this one now.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty
idea.
fun.
In every AU, he's the same guy, but in like a different outfit.
Yeah.
But he's still just
that's really good.
Thaddeus. Yeah.
God, I want to see his closet.
He's got a mind closet.
Where
too.
am I going today?
Right? I kind of love that, actually.
Like, I imagine
pretty
it's
good.
something similar to the way they do, like, Pulsefire Ezreal on the wiki, except canonize it.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. They already kind of... They flirt so much with, like, maybe it's all one big multiverse, and they're all connected, and it's like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? Why not?
Right?
Yeah.
They already have so
Yeah.
many specific AUs that are connected via some sort of portal, too. So, like...
Yeah. Honestly, I like the Where's Waldo thing. Is there one splash where it's a bunch of different Thaddeus's, but only one's the actual one? And you gotta know all the little Thaddeus details.
It's just a Thaddeus AU. It's called Thaddy Us in capital.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, there it is. And there it is, folks.
There's his April Fool's skin.
Oh, my God. Damn.
Can I pitch the idea that all Yordles personally know Thaddeus as well?
Like there is
I
one
love it.
portal from Bandle City
Yeah,
to his
yeah,
library
yeah.
that's just still open.
They all know him.
I love it.
But because
Oh my
of all
God.
the stuff from Bandle Tale, their portals are broken too, so they can't visit
damn.
him. That's why he's still
They
so
gotta
lonely.
knit a new one or something. Well, I don't know why, but I thought she would be launched. Birdie would be launched with Space Groove. I just felt like the whip would be a fun
Okay.
Space Groove thing. I also
like it.
was thinking of a different skin, and try to guess what it is. Her champion name would be Burby.
Oh, I see. Bloodstone, yes. Our favorite. That's great. Is the whip like a vine with flowers on it, or is it bees in this one?
Oh,
Just a whip of bees.
A whip of
whip of
bees would
bees.
be really funny, actually. Because then that'd be like the Singe one, where all the poison is just a cloud of bees.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think we all did pretty great.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So, Riot, if you want to take any of these ideas,
honestly.
you owe
Pay
us
us.
$3
You
million.
know where our Patreon is.
Yeah.
At least $5
Become
tier.
a
Like a
Medarda
lot.
tier, and you can take one of these champions.
Medarda tier patrons, Riot Games.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I feel like one of our Medarda tier patrons is going to just change their name to Riot Games.
Well, now they are.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This is really neat. It's really neat to see what everyone's like. Yeah, what everyone's coming up with. Yeah, I like sharing. I like this little show and tell.
Me too. If anybody has future ideas for creative things we could do, I would be open to it more. I would definitely be excited to write things, but at the moment I'm trying to focus on like a personal writing thing. Yeah. Otherwise I would have tried to write a short story or something, I think.
I would love to do that at some
Yeah.
point.
That would be really
I think it'd
fun.
be really fun. Mm-hmm. You know what? We criticize so much. Let's get roasted a little
Right.
bit. You know
Oh
what I mean?
god, we get mad roasted for sure.
I love
Don't.
it. I love
I'll
it.
cry. If you didn't like Birdie, I don't want to know.
Hated Birdie, loved Burby.
You know what? That's fine. Bzz, 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 bzz.
Now, we do also these, like, the plan is to kind of do one of these more open conversations every month, I think we had said, too. So,
Yeah.
we mentioned, leave it in the recommendations channel if you have any ideas. But, like, that's one a month that we've got a very good chance to take your recommendation if it's good. So, throw them in
The
there.
old wild card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was our hole filler. John, it's stuck. I hate it so much because I didn't know what else to call it. Someone else come up with a better name for this.
No.
I came up with Burby, and that's all I got in me. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. We have a twitch.tv/warheads. John streams on Saturdays. He does TFT and ARAMs with viewers. Pew, pew, pew. So if you want to play with John, tune in on Saturday evenings. EST. Yeah.
We got some good folks.
Good folks, good people, playing League wonderfully.
Yeah, we play.
Yeah, we also have YouTube. If you want to see our lovely faces or watch some clips or some beautiful and hilarious songs that John has written and posted on there, be sure to check out our YouTube. What else do we have? Is it just Patreon? I don't have my thing open. Discord. We have a Discord. You want to find some people to chat with, post some memes, talk about how great our champions were. Please don't say you hated Birdie.
Or post new ideas for next month.
Or post new ideas for next month for an open discussion such as this. Join our Discord. And we have a Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, King of Hearts and Mr. Dead. If you were a champion, then we wouldn't even attempt to come up with your shit. You'd be too good.
Nice.
All right. I wonder where you're going to go with that one. I like it.
And please be sure to join us next week. We are going to be talking about the Alternate Universe Project.